Good afternoon, everybody. Another awesome interview I get to do today with my good friend, Andrew Sorcini, who my wife actually this past weekend at the Reawaken tour in New York ended up meeting with Andrew. I did not see him, but him and Andrew's wife and my wife got along great. Andrew is the probably number one precious metal dealer in the United States. His company is called Beverly Hills Precious Metals. And, I know so many people go to him to buy precious metals. And all I know is that he gives really, really wonderful service so far that I've heard from, many, many people. And again, there's a lot of people reaching out to him. So I know he's been busy. And what he was telling me in the pre-interview, this is a record month for Andrew for precious metal sales. And, today we're going to talk about why, because the essence of this entire interview about precious metals is the key word will be urgency. People, I'm telling you, if you've listened to my interviews, there's little time left, okay? I'm repeating that. There's little time left. I analyze time. I'm telling you, there's little time left. So if you want to prepare financially for what is coming, because massive world events are coming, and, Matthew talks about blessings, being 30, 60, and 100 fold. I'm telling you, when God intervenes, we are going to see blessings of that magnitude. So, with all that said, Andrew, thank you for being here, and let's start off. So go ahead and tell us where you want to start.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back. It's I love talking to people that are fans of yours and that and listen to you and watch you. It's they're so well informed. So really, the reason why I wanted to be on today is something that's been on my mind and been on the minds of everybody that we talk to, it seems like, is the Executive Order 14067. And that's the one that Biden is actually pushing through, that's already in play. It goes into effect, I think, December. And they're going to have complete control over the monetary system, even things that are outside of the centralized banking system. Have you been following?
I've done a little research behind it. I know that, we want to talk, you mentioned that. I did some research on it. And all I know is that anytime the government gets involved, it's all for our benefit. But basically, we get, the best word would be jacked, okay? It's just nothing's for our benefit. It's for them, but they basically turn the cards, and just like when you go through security at the airport, it's for your safety. It's always for our safety. It's always for our benefit. I tell you, anytime the government pushes a policy on the people, it is for our detriment, and it's the exact opposite of what they say. What does Ephesians say? We battle not against flesh and blood, but principalities of darkness in dark places. A principality, if you understand that Bible definition of it, it's a government.
Exactly. It's the way that we're looking at this, I saw that Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad Poor Dad, he calls this new crypto edict pure communism. So the government will have complete control over what we do with our money. So for people out there that don't understand what it is, it's the Executive Order 14067 will allow for Biden and the government to have what would be like a national cryptocurrency that we would actually use on our cell phone, and we go out and make purchases. So potentially a few years down the road, if you're at a gas station and you're trying to buy gasoline for your car, they could shut it off and say, okay, we don't want people driving gas cars. We want you to go electric. So we'll just shut it off and make it difficult for you to get gasoline. If you're somebody that has guns and you believe in the right to arm yourself, then you might want to go and buy ammunition. They could shut off the crypto so that you can't go out and buy ammunition.
Well, and let's talk about just money as a whole, right? This is not about, money as to accumulate it because you want power. No. People in the world, us, everyday people, we need money specifically to take care of our families, to buy goods and services, to buy food and, pay for homes or lodging. Okay. So you need money to live. period, right? And so what's the best way in the world to control humanity, right? Control the money supply. Okay. So this is why it's so important to take the big picture perspective on, these executive orders, these laws that come out, trying to push through. But ultimately, right, if you don't have control of your own finances, I'm just telling you, let's think about this. Take it to heart. If you don't have control of your own finances, someone's controlling you. Period. Okay. And the essence of that someone is always a government agency or, basically, and we battle not against flesh and blood, but principalities of darkness, right? So principalities are government agencies run by the dark. Okay. What's the dark? Evil. Satan, if you want the name. Okay. So as much as this is a spiritual battle that we're witnessing. Okay. Kim Clement said it rather incredibly, right? Think about what's happened in the past year and a half since January of last year, right? It's just, they've gotten the power and look at the evil, they're just signing order after order. That's, one worse after the other. It's all about control. Look at the lockdowns, everything that's been going on. Why are they doing this? To control. It's all about control. And so this middleman entity is always the problem. And the middleman, the simplest form of it, the definition would be evil. Okay. And so they're trying to control us. And if you let them control your finances, you're done. In other words, that's like the whole, why will people, think of it from the big perspective, we're not there yet. In the future, if you read Revelation, there's the thing called the mark. The mark is coming out. Why will people take the mark? Right, directly related to what you're talking about, this executive order, okay? Why will people take the mark in the future? For the simple fact they want to eat. For the simple fact they want to feed their family, right? And so people will take the mark in the future because that's going to be the only way to get food for the ones that are in the world. See, we're supposed to be in the world, not of it. We're not, the Bible says very clearly, get out of her. Get out of this Babylonian system, because the Babylonian system is all a system of control. And Haggai 2:8 states, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. And so what is the number one money system in the world that evil hates? Tell us, Andrew.
They hate gold and silver. They do. It's and that's a perfect segue to the solution to this potential problem, or it is a problem. So Executive Order 14067 is going to happen. So it's scheduled to take place before the end of the year, and we'll be using our fiat.
I want to preface. Let's backtrack. I want to say, that's what they're planning.
Yes.
Is going to happen. If they have their way, yes, Andrew, it will happen.
Yeah.
However, there is one entity that stands between them and their plans, and that is Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the Father, and the Holy Spirit. So as crazy, as evil, as satanic as these people's plans are, and yes, if they have their way, it will go through. However, there is some incredible activity, biblical, that's supposed to happen this year, and that's prophesied by the words of Kim Clement as they fall and fall. So we'll see if they can push this plan through. We'll see how it all plays out. But regardless, you're still not stopping Revelation. You're still not stopping end times, okay? And the point being is, these people are exposing their cards. You ever play poker or blackjack? You're basically seeing their cards. They're hiding their cards, but they're exposing them. They're showing you what their plans are. And every one of them is like kill, destroy, kill, destroy. It's just, there's not one that's in your favor. And so these people are, this is a new order, executive order, trying to push through. And ultimately, whether it happens here in the United States or not, end times is coming. And down the road, these things will happen in the world. There is going to be a one world currency that's going to come across the world. And if you don't have God's money, gold and silver, you are stuck because you have no other means of transacting. Continue, Andrew. Sorry.
It's true. It's true. Absolutely. And before the whole world went digital, like before the internet really became what it is now, it made sense for you to just go to the bank from time to time and just pull out a stack of $100 bills and just keep it under your mattress or keep it somewhere where you could get to it. But now with digital currency in play, at any point the government could make the dollars, which are fiat currency, just there's no real value, they could make them obsolete. We could,
and let's pause there for a minute, right? When you say there's no real value, number one is anything that's created to infinity has no value. Think about air. We all need it, but you don't charge for air, right? But there's infinite amounts of air. Thing with the money system that we currently use. No one knows how much money is created. We know it's in the trillions upon trillions upon trillions, but no one really knows the number because they hide it all. It's all hidden. It's all secret, secret, secret. It's all top secret. They will never release on money supply, but we know it's infinite. We do know for a couple facts, it took 100 years to make the first trillion. Since the crash of March 2020, they've created 17 or 18 trillion dollars in the past year and a half just to prop up the system. So you're looking at a system that's basically creating money out of thin air and they stick it in the markets, in the stock market as an example, to make everything look great, but it's nothing but the biggest fraud market that's out there, right? And you have God's money, Haggai 2:8, the silver and the golden mine, saith the Lord, sitting there at less, at less than mining cost or mining costs right now. It's incredible how cheap it is, right? And and you read the Bible, right? It's so cool how the Bible, when you understand the phrases in the Bible, how you can apply it to present day, and you have peace in your heart, right? What does God say? The last will be the first and the first will be the last, right? Proverbs 2:8, the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. You look at the third seal of Revelation, right? You got the rider's got scales in his hands, right? Representing the financial system. All of these things are about to blow up. When God intervenes, I want to say blow up, everything flips. So the reality that we perceive today, Andrew, the reality that we perceive today, when God intervenes, when the glory of God arrives here on this earth, and it will arrive this year, 2022, before year end, because we're in the year of Jubilee. And so when the glory of God arrives, just know that one specific thing happens. Everything you know to be true in your head flips. And that's why your sales are off the charts right now because precious metals. Why? People are waking up, Andrew. I do interviews, people talking out there, more people than many analysts are now repeating what I'm saying as well, too, with regard to our precious metals. In your heart, what you're doing is the best thing for people when you sell them precious metals. Continue.
Absolutely, because the fiat dollars and the proposed cryptocurrency that would replace the fiat dollar, they're of infinite supply. So they're really not going to have any value, as you just stated. So we would want to move into something that is a true tangible item like gold and silver. That's always been the world's currency dating back to the Bible and always will be. And there is not an infinite supply of it. And as you've just stated, I'm sure there are gold and silver deposits in various parts of the world, but at this point, it's not. But
you have to work to get them.
Yes.
You have to work. You have to put physical labor in to go get them. That's why they have value, okay? If I have to physically dig a hole to go get gold and silver, I personally would have to pay somebody to go dig that hole, and that in and of itself creates value because it's not an infinite amount of it, and plus you got to go find it. You got the labor it takes to get it. That's why it has value. Versus just pressing a button and creating something out of thin air. There's no value in that. So the world that people grew up with, Andrew, the world that we grew up in, we grew up, and this is like evil's very smart, right? This is the best example I can give you how evil can turn the tables, right? So what you believe to be as money, right? If every year evil would tilt your perception, or every year he would tilt your perception of reality by 1 degree. After 180 years, everybody will look at the world backwards. And he's been around for 6,000 years, ever since Adam and Eve, right? So this is like a long-term game plan that evil's had on this earth. That's why it's like generations. Like, well, my parents have used fiat, this US dollar. Their parents did. You see what I'm saying, right? This goes back to the early part of the century, the 1900s, right? 1913, whatever, when the dollar was created. So this is like generational. So everybody's got it ingrained. That could never happen. Okay, but if you look at, what's other countries, right? Right before a country blows up, what happens to the money supply, Andrew? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So when a country blows up, typically their money supply, it can oftentimes become completely obsolete. They could one day wake up the next day and have a brand new currency.
And hyperinflation. And talk about how hyperinflation is the last step of the death of a currency.
It is. And right now we are seeing that, and they're trying to report that it's actually going down, but it's not, because things are like with gasoline here in California. It was like $4 a gallon last year, and it got to like almost $7 a gallon this year. And now it's like $5.50, and Biden's saying, see, like the gas prices went down, but they're still 30% higher than they were last year.
Yeah.
So
everything you look at commodity wise, right? Everything's up in price. And then guess what? We haven't seen, this is the thing that people need to understand, as crazy as different as things are in the past year and a half. Okay. We haven't witnessed the movement of God. I know it's hard for people to understand. The Bible says that, ears to hear, eyes to see, and ears to hear. People might hear us talking, but they don't listen, right? And so all we can do is talk and put the message out. But if you understand, the world is at a point in time, we're about to see the overturning of the money tables. This is going to be the fall, because everything that they've done, they've built upon the money system. How they got the positions and the power that these people currently hold is because they create money out of thin air and they buy their way to the top. And everything's now bought and paid for. When the money tables flip, when God intervenes, this is going to happen. When God intervenes and the third seal is finally revealed, we're going to see the flipping of the tables, and everything this is like in a 24-hour window. It says Isaiah 61, the year of the Lord's favor, which is Leviticus, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year, which is now, and proclaim liberty throughout the land and all of its inhabitants. Isaiah 61 also states the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance. So all I'm saying is that the reason Andrew's so busy right now, because people are feeling something. They know in their heart something feels weird, doesn't feel right. It's just like, something doesn't feel right or look right, or smell right, or pass a smell or taste test, it's something's messed up. And I'm telling you, what you're feeling is correct. That's why Andrew is so busy right now with people that are basically, finally acting. Andrew, just a second ago, before this interview started, saying, he's actually got brokers now, that manage money, actually reaching out to Andrew, sending him 7-figure checks because they want for their own portfolio. They're cashing out. Go ahead, Andrew.
It's true. So for people out there that have been investing in gold and silver with their available cash for the last few months or even the last few years, if you're at a point where you no longer have additional cash to be able to invest in gold and silver, you can use your IRA or your 401k without it costing you anything. So you simply just roll over your existing IRA. Let's hypothetically
tell us the steps of how. So let's say I'm not in the markets anywhere. I'm in gold. I'm in silver is where I'm at. Okay, and some cryptos, but very, very heavily in silver. But let's say I had an IRA or 401k. I reach out to you. Tell me the steps. So what would I do? And because this is important. Listen, because Andrew, this is what he does every day. So give us the steps, Andrew, so everybody can hear.
Yeah, I'll start from the very beginning. So first of all, go on our website. It's bh-pm.com. You could also find a link to our website from Bo's website on the partners page. And just click on first-time customer or free consultation and fill out the form. And be sure that you say that Bo Polney sent you. And we will call you. And just indicate to us that you have a 401k or an IRA that you want to roll over. We will talk to you for a little bit, and we will provide you with an 8-page application that we fill out all of every field except for the signature. We email it to you, you sign it, send it back, and then your existing IRA custodian will be in contact with our IRA custodian, and they'll arrange for the transfer of funds in order for you to have a precious metals IRA. Then we're getting these done lightning fast too, sometimes in less than a week. So once the account is funded, then our IRA custodian will let us know, hey, call your client and let them know that it's time to actually make the purchase of gold and silver. And then we contact you. And most people are going heavy on silver. you don't take physical delivery of the silver. It's held in a depository in Delaware, which is
And
part
Tom,
of the
this is not a bank, okay? This is not a bank. It's a private institution. It's a private holding company. Continue.
Yes, and it's in Delaware for a reason, because Delaware is one of those states that kind of has some of the old grandfathered laws where you're protected from your assets being reported everywhere, and where California is the exact opposite. So it's physical gold and silver that you will receive that's stored in a lockbox with your name and account number in it in Wilmington, Delaware. So it's, as far as fees, it costs about $300 to get it set up, and it's not a taxable event. So people always ask that. They go, well, I don't want to take the tax hit. It is not a taxable event. You can transfer your existing IRA into a precious metals IRA with no taxes. But your existing broker might try to scare you and tell you, oh yeah, you'll be taxed on it if you transfer it out. They hate this. They don't want you to do it, but they're calling us on the back end of things and saying, hey, I want to set up one of those. The people in the financial industry, banks, financial advisors, never say to go for precious metals. And then just one thing, I know someone that you know, Bo, and that I know, Jim Brewer, the other day, I was talking with him on the phone, the comedian, and he tells me, he goes, hey, so I've been wanting to talk with you, and you're the gold and silver guy, right? I go, yeah. He goes, my financial advisor told me I should get into gold and silver like right away. I go, wait a minute, I think I heard wrong. What did you just say? He says, my financial advisor told me to get gold and silver. I go, is this like a friend of yours? He goes, yeah, it's my best friend. I go, that's why. Because no financial advisors ever condone you getting involved with gold and silver, because it's taking money out of their pocket and out of the centralized banking system and goes against what their bosses are telling them to say.
Right. And so the essence of what you're saying is that it's like if you look in a bubble, there's a money, your finances are inside that bubble. It's called an IRA. All you're doing is you're moving the bubble over here. You're just moving the bubble. You're not taking money out of the bubble. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. What you're saying is because you're not if you take it out of the bubble, that's where the taxable event is. If it stays within the bubble, you're just moving the bubble from here to over here. And all that's changing is what's inside the bubble. So you no longer have stocks in the bubble. You have precious metals inside the bubble, correct?
It's exactly that. It's a lateral move, and right now is a good time to get out of the stocks anyway, because we've seen a little bit of a bounce in the stock market, which is great. If you didn't get out before, you've made a little bit of it back, but we know where it's headed. We're definitely in a down cycle for stocks, so it's a good time to take that profit, put it into a good store of value, which is gold and silver, which really we know what silver's potential is. It could go up many, many times above where it's at now. But really, for me, the primary reasons are for owning gold and silver are as a hedge against inflation, and also to preserve my freedom. So when I say preserve my freedom, it's if they're trying to make our dollars obsolete and go on to nationwide cryptocurrency where they can track all of the purchases and debits that you make, then what would be the one item that you can have, or the two items that you could have that would be outside of that system? And for me, it's gold and silver. So owning gold and silver that's in my physical possession is freedom. And I urge other people out there to give us a call as soon as you possibly can, so that you can get some before it runs out.
Let me ask you a question, Andrew. So on the short end and the long end, so let's say I had you take 10, 20, your past 10, 20 clients as an example, right? On the short end, what's the quickest you've been able to do this? And on the long end, what's the longest that you've seen this happen? So you said 1 week, maybe on the quick end. So give us a range of time.
Yeah, we typically don't see them take any longer than 2 or 3 weeks now. It's there are occasions where there's one that might take 4, 5, 6 weeks. And when that happens, we look deeper into it. And almost always it's their existing IRA custodian that's running interference and making sure that the transfer can't happen. So we've had that happen. I've had clients call me after 4 weeks and say, look, I'm about ready to give up on this process because it should have happened a long time ago. And I said, look, your existing broker is receiving the transfer request for the funds, and they're telling you that they're not. And they go, well, why would a friend of mine tell me that they're not receiving them? And they really are. because they don't want to lose your business. They're being told to do that from the very top of the firm that they work at. And
so is that where the client needs to get involved sometimes, make a phone call or something?
Yes. At that point, we just say, okay, great. You just call them up and say, liquidate my positions and send me a check. And before you do that, speak with us and we'll tell you exactly how to have the check made out. Then you have them physically send you the check. And that's how when we get to that point where it's taken like a month to set up, we just request the check and we can have it done just a couple of days after that. Now we request a check up front as much as we possibly can. And that's how one day we got one done in one day, just one day. It's like unheard of. So especially with 401ks, if you have a 401k for a place you worked at a long time ago and you sort of forgot about it and you watch this video and you go, yeah, I do have one. Those we can get those turned over very, very quickly.
So you mentioned the stock market. Okay, so I don't specifically track the stock market, but what happened, I don't know if you know the story, but basically a friend of mine, Lois Vogel-Sharp, prophet, has forever had, prophetic words about the timeline 1, 2, 4. And then I went to a coat check in Vienna 3 years ago, and I got a ticket of 1, 2, 4. I'm like, freaked me out. That night I got a prophetic dream, and I know it's from God because when you get things like, sometimes you have a dream, but this is like, I couldn't forget it. He basically said to me, you take the stock market, you roll it up and you put in a 1, 2, 4 and you reverse it 4, 2, 1 and you roll it up in a circle and you'll see that cycle replay itself. I'm like, what? So I went that morning, looked at the stock market, I made the charts, and incredibly, that's exactly how the stock market works. And so again, we talked about the importance of this interview with regard to the keyword urgency. Okay. We are today, August 19. Okay. I'm telling you, September is going to be crazy. There's something insane that's coming in the month of September, okay? I was asking timelines because you say it could be as quick as a week, sometimes 2 to 3 weeks, okay? Which means if it takes on a longer end, you only have, as September, that we've got a date. Now, again, I'm not saying this is like, something's going to happen on this date, but there is a prophetic scripture of, it's Haggai 2 that talks about September 24th. And from this day forward, I will bless you. Okay. So all we know is that September is lining up to be a very powerful month with regard to scripture and then cycle. I want to share this with you, Andrew, because this is a chart that I actually got. So I don't know if you can see this or not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So way over here on the left, this was the election of 45. If you run the 4-2-1 cycle, so you got 4-2-1. And then we got a pause month. These are months. And then right here it starts. You got 1, 2, 4, 4, 2, 1, crash. And again, a pause month of a 9. So they got 1, 2, 4, 4, 2, 1, crash. And again, what happened? I did an interview with Greg Hunter right here in February. And I'm like, I'm telling you people that the cycle chart is pointing to a probable up to 35 to 40% crash in March, like next month. Wow. And people thought I was insane until it happened.
Wow.
Until it happened. Okay. And only reason I knew that is because this is the chart this is a time calculation that was shown to me. So then that paused. And then we had again, another 1, 2, 4, 4, 2, 1, and the Dow crashed for 10 days consecutive in June of 2021. But it wasn't a plunge, it was just a crash because again, we're working our way up into the big moment here in time. And then we ran again a 1, 2, 4, look at this, then 4, 2. I made this chart here initially in January of this past year saying that's the top. Look at it, I nailed that because that was on the 1 pattern. And then it's dropped. This last chart that I posted here is I'm back from like May of this year. And now the markets, all they've done, Andrew, look at, they've come up into the blue zone here. They're right about here and they touch this blue line. It's the resistance line. It's touched the underside of the resistance. That's it. Now it's heading back down, just like you saw over here in the blue zone. This is where it's at right now. It's in the blue zone over here. All that's going to happen, if I'm right on this chart, is a massive market plunge in September. So I'm just telling you in terms of, the viewers, if you're concerned about being in the stock market in this monetary system, and remember that chart you're looking at, that's money that's created out of thin air to push it up. Like, how crazy is this? And then another thing is, if you look at the crash of 19 was at 42, it took 2.5 years for the market to finally hit bottom. So the market's crash in March of 2020, if you run 2.5 years forward, like the crash of 1942, you realize you get to December of 2022.
Wow.
So all they did was create money out of thin air, push it in the markets, but we're in the great crash of 1942 right now, but the money system has pushed the markets up. So everything is just, it's smoke and mirrors. It's Hollywood. You know, you put those glasses on, you know, the computer, and you're like, oh, this is great. It's all good until you take the glasses off and you see the truth, right? So it's just, you know, the precious metals, again, God's money. Haggai 2, verse 8, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. Why the heck would you want to be involved in precious metals? Because Satan, the evil ones, the evil one, and all his minions get involved, and they get in the middle between you and your money, between you and your spouse, between you and everything's important in your life, and they lie to you. And so these brokers that you talk about, they're nothing but the middlemen between you and your money. And the brokers don't work for you. They work for the system, the government. And who's the government? Read Ephesians, right? We battle not against flesh and blood, but principalities of darkness. So all I'm saying is, if people don't own, this is not financial advice. I'm just doing what I know is right in my heart. I own precious metals. Why does Andrew sell precious metals? I guarantee you, Andrew owns quite a few precious metals. Why? Because in his heart, he knows he's doing the right thing. And when people buy precious metals from him, he's a broker. When he sells people precious metals, he knows in his heart he's doing the right thing. Because ultimately, people are buying not some fake money. They're buying money that's been around for how long? Is it 5,000 years, right? But remember, God's money will not have value. Okay, so you look at silver at 20 bucks-ish, or just under 20 bucks, okay? That's a fake manipulated price of silver, because if silver was at true value, their money would be worth nothing. Get it? Okay. So when the glory appears, when the glory arrives on this earth, we are going to see overturning of the money tables. And from that moment forward, everything you believe to be true about the money system will immediately have to change, because you're never going to, well, actually, one of our first interviews, I asked Andrew, what would you do if silver overnight went to it's at 20 today. And if it just multiplied by 3, let's say it went to $60 overnight, what would you do? So you wake up in the morning and silver is $60. Andrew, tell us what you would do.
I would head straight to the beach.
Why? Why?
Because what'll happen is our entire inventory will be gone. Like it just takes one massive move like that, and our inventory is gone. And our ability to buy more inventory is going to be very difficult as well, because the premiums are going to jump. So if it goes to $60 overnight, the premium would likely be about $30 more than that just to buy 1 ounce. $60 silver would cost about $90 per ounce, and still the available supply is going to be dried up. We need a certain number of days to go by before people would be able to replenish an actual supply of gold and silver. So I would be at the beach for at least 1 day, probably upwards of about a week, because I'll have a lot of people calling me to buy, but I won't have anything to sell.
And to be honest with you, I think another step is you probably wouldn't know what to sell it for. Because when a move like that happens, like, you don't know what's going to happen the next day. Is it going to go to 120 the next day, or is it going to come back down to 30? You see what I'm saying? Everything becomes so problematic in terms of, like, what is the true value of it, that no one knows what to do. But when that moment happens, that is the beginning of the greatest move of precious metals in history, okay? It's going to go, and it's going to go, and they're going to try to hammer it down, and it's going to shoot back up, because the control mechanism, mark my words, when the event happens, when silver goes double, triple overnight in a single day, okay, that day will mark the breaking of the control system. Their mechanism of control will be broken, and they will try to reinstill it, but God has now intervened, and everything they do from that point forward will fail. they'll have a short-term win and then a big loss, a short-term win and a big loss. And that's going to be, that's what a bull market is, right? Higher highs, higher lows. And so it'll shoot up, it'll come back, it'll shoot higher, come back a little bit, shoot higher. And that's what we're going to see happen. This is like going to be the greatest bull market we've ever seen in human history that's coming.
Exactly. So I think like the biggest thing that people need to understand about everything that we've talked about today is that you can get gold and silver right now. It's available. So I wouldn't get too caught up in the price. Just get it while you can, because we all know where it's going. You want to invest in gold and silver, not based on what the price is today, but based on where you think it's headed. Yeah. And next month is a very, very important month. And people should reach out right away. Don't waste any time. Like go on to bh-pm.com, fill out the online form, and put in as much information as you possibly can. If you're a newbie and you've never done it before, please don't be shy. Put that in there, because I can get you to someone that can walk you through it and help you understand every part of how to do it. If you've done it before, great, put that in there. If you have a precious metals, you want a precious metals IRA, put that in there. If you have some you want to sell, put that in the message. So the most information I can have on you, I could get you to the right associate.
Perfect. If you study the cycle, the timelines of Jonathan Cahn, okay, he wrote a book called Shemitah. So every year, if you look at this chart, every year, every 7 years, there's been massive events. So if you had a slow crash, oil crash, hard recession began, stock market crash, bond and market crash, stock market crash, and yet, and that was also 9/11 was over here in 2001. So my point is, we're at 7 years again. Okay, so nothing happened on the 7th year would be 2015, because that was a year of rest. If you study the patterns of the Bible, and now we're on cycle 8. So we're at another 7-year cycle, which is now, okay? So 2022 is a Shemitah year, as talked about by Jonathan Cahn. If you look at the long-term stock cycles, you'll also see every 40 years, there's a crash and a war. Okay, so we're at 40 years. I made this chart back in January of this year when markets are way at the top here. So all I'm telling you, we could see a stock market crash. This is not financial advice. This is just running charts and showing you where the charts come in at. But basically, chart patterns 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1 would come in a crash of around what's number 1 would be about 47%. Point 2 is 66%. Point 3 is an 80% crash. And point 4 at the very bottom could be up to an 86% crash from the very top. So this is what we're looking at. You got the prophet, Ken Christmas, basically stating very clearly, what's about to happen is going to happen in a 24-hour window. So I don't know what's coming. No one knows the precise day, the precise hour, but we're at a historic moment in time here for our world. Something huge is coming. God spoken through many prophets. It's like it's happening. And then we got, Haggai 2, which states the 24th day of the 9th month of the 2nd year of Darius, which is September 24th. Then the last part, which is really even freaky, I just got the other day. I don't know if this is not numerology, but if you ever just type in the word on a computer, 888 definition or meaning, right? And you'll see the word comes up as new beginning, or Jesus, right? New beginning. So 888. Andrew, this blew my mind. So if you take Daniel's timeline of time, okay, it writes in the Bible, this is a factual statement. It says, and Matthew talks about it as well too. But basically it's 3.5 years, and 3.5 years makes 7 years. I think you've heard the 7-year timeline. So 3.5 years is precisely 1,260 days. Okay, so 45, Trump gets elected in 2016, 1,260 days later, to the exact day, tell me this didn't happen if I'm wrong, but on the precise day of April 20th, year 2020, oil went to zero. Actually, negative $38. Remember that event?
Yep.
That happened on April 20th of year 2020.
Unbelievable.
Now, 888 days from that marker in time is September 24th.
Wow.
New beginning. Does it play out that way? I don't know. All I'm telling is I'm calculating time, and every scripture that I look at listen to the prophets. I look at timelines that I analyze. And all I'm telling you is that there's so little time left. It's crazy. If you're going to work with Andrew, I'm just, for those who have, investments, if you want to do, if the Holy Spirit, if your heart's telling you, you maybe need to own some precious metals, then, act on what's in your heart. All I can do is tell you what I see coming, and this roughly timelines I see them laying out. Andrew is the broker. He sells precious metals. If you want somebody reliable, Andrew's reliable. I've heard a lot of wonderful stories about him. And all I tell you, we've asked him, we've listened to Andrew speak, and he says it takes minimum of around a week, minimum, and it could take 2 to 3 weeks. And all I'm telling you is the end of September is, 4-ish weeks away, 5 weeks away. So, things are very tight with regards to time. And, and so if you feel in your heart, you need to act, maybe you should act. But, Andrew, what else can you add that we haven't talked about that you maybe wanted to talk about?
I would say that people should want to get involved in gold and silver because there are so many other people out there trying to keep you from getting it. It's I'm having banks interfere like you wouldn't believe. We have a lady that recently purchased $180,000 worth of silver from us, and she went into Wells Fargo, and we have 2 bank accounts here for the company. It used to always be Wells Fargo, but now we're using Chase a little bit as well. So this lady went into Wells Fargo, but we sent her our Chase Bank wire instructions. So she went in there and she goes, or the people at the bank are like, do you know these people? And they go, sort of. They've been vouched for by a show that I watch all the time and somebody that I trust. They go, I don't know, this might be fraudulent. You should probably not do it. So she went home and she called us and she goes, yeah, they scared me. And I go, so what did they do? She goes, they went on your website and they talked about gold and silver and just any reason under the sun. Do not do business.
Can I pause you for a minute? Because every time I'll put an order, my wife goes to bank to send all the wires, right? Every single time she goes to the bank, and she knows these people, they're just, they always take care of her. But every time she goes there, they read the script. Do you know these people? It's a script, okay?
Yes.
Do you know these people? Because of all the fraud going on in the world with bank wires, we need to know, do you know these people? It's a perfectly scripted script that they repeat every single time, and they're instructed to read this script.
Exactly. Their bosses do not want the dollars to leave your bank account. So the lady said, well, what could I do? And I told her a lot of things that be strong, go in there. It's your money. It's not theirs. You're not asking for permission. You're directing them what to do. And she just didn't sound like really she was strong enough to do that. And I go, look, let's just make this easy then. I'll send you our Wells Fargo bank wire instructions. And then they're going to see Beverly Hills Precious Metals, Andrew Sorcini. They're going to see how many years we've been in business. They're going to see the balance. And then we'll see if they tell you if we're fraudulent or not. And she came back and she calls and she goes, okay, the wire went through. Everything's good. And I go, okay. So they played a card that they didn't really think through all the way to the end, and we had another option. But it's just, that's just one story. I could talk for hours about all the different stories, and the banks are instructed to do so. I'm not trying to tell people that they shouldn't go to the bank and wire funds to invest in precious metals. What I'm saying is that there's a reason that they don't want you doing it, and they're worried because gold and silver is really the only form of currency that's going to have value after the dollar blows up or after cryptocurrency. What if there's like an electrical glitch and there's no internet? Then how would you access crypto?
Well, and let's talk about that because so gold and silver is the ultimate form of money. And the reason I say that, again, this is not financial advice. This is simply what is gold and silver? It's simply I can hold it in my hand. And that's it. There's no middle man. Okay, you can hold it in your hand. You can bury it in a mountain somewhere, and you can put it anywhere you want. But it's your control. There's no middleman. That's why it's the ultimate money. Okay, cryptocurrencies, as great as they're going to be in the future, because you will need them for the time being here, because the collapse of the dollar, they're going to be using cryptocurrencies as well to pay for transactions at distance. Okay, so Europe, you want to buy something overseas, you're not going to be sending gold coins or silver coins. You'll be actually you'll be sending crypto to make payment, and that'll be for a period of time. Okay, but then ultimately, like you said, right? When the one world beast system goes live, they're going to control the internet. Because I don't know if you know this, but the last thing that was signed by Obama before he left the office, the last thing he signed over the internet to the United Nations. Wow. Okay, and so ultimately, you may have many zeros after your name, cryptocurrency wise. But you'll need the ultimate years down the road, you'll need to mark the mark of the beast, the mark, to log into the internet to see your funds. Okay. So that's why. And so in other words, there's a middleman. The internet is the middleman between you and your cryptocurrencies. You see what I'm saying? So it's always the middleman factor. And so that's why, to think I'll go buy silver and gold later. The problem with, I'm going to let cryptos go up first, then I'll buy silver and gold later. The problem with that thought process is, I've ran this thought process, is like we said earlier, when silver is at crazy large prices, the spread could be a third to 50% of the price just to get the physical in your hand. So you're going to be paying exorbitant prices just to get that physical silver. And, and so cryptos, they're going to go up, but the ratio, I don't think is going to be there. So, and then plus, Andrew might be at the beach and so he won't be selling. So the point is, it might be hard to get large chunks of silver in the future. You see what I'm saying? Because people might sell it to you, but they might sell you like increments. They might sell you, a few bars, but volume might be difficult to buy later on because people may not want to be giving it up, right? Like if you've got precious metals and they're worth crazy money, there's not going to be a lot of sellers.
Yeah, that's the worst time to sell.
Yeah.
So people need to act now.
Yeah. So those are the key things between, precious metals and cryptos. Ultimately the government's trying to get involved in all of this and control humanity. They're showing their cards, and something big's coming. Something big is coming. And, time is very short. Go listen to other prophets. I'm not a prophet, but, I'm very good at listening to the prophets, analyzing scriptures and looking at timelines. Okay. I guess the best word I could call myself, I've been called the analyst of time, but also a messenger. So my point is, I'm pushing out a powerful prophetic message to the world eyes to see and ears to hear. Do you hear? Did you hear the conversation? Go back and listen to it again, because there's so many things that we talked about today that are very, very powerful. But this year is going to be very, very powerful. And I just, I know that this year is not going to end the way it started.
Yeah, I agree. So it's people really do need to give us a call or go on the website, fill out the form, and at least have a conversation with us. We're not gonna high pressure you into doing anything, but we will weigh out your options for you and see what the best course of action to take might be.
Yeah, and before you even do that, literally close your eyes, go in a quiet place, close your eyes, because this is like about you, yourself, your family. It's a personal thing. This is not about anybody but you personally. And then, if you have a family, it's but then you and your family. But go in a quiet place, close your eyes, pray on it, feel what's in your heart. What do you feel? Does this conversation that Andrew and I are having feel normal? Does it feel right? Does it resonate with you? Listen. And then if the answer that comes to you is, to act on and do something, well, then call Andrew. If your answer comes up, I'm good where I'm at, well, then you're good where you're at, because, no one can force anybody to do anything. It's all about free will. But, it's just like, when Joshua came down the mountain, right? Choose this day whom you will serve, right? And, and the people of the world, if you only have paper money in the markets and paper money, you have no precious metals, you really don't understand history, because precious metals, God's money, has been around for thousands of years. There's a reason why it's called precious.
Absolutely.
So with that said, Andrew, again, where can people find you, and any last comments, notes, thing you'd like to say?
So people should go to bh-pm.com. Once the homepage comes up, just click on any of the red buttons. A form will come up. Put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. It'll ask how you heard about us. Please put in Bo Polney. then down on the bottom, put in a couple sentences about yourself. I'm interested in silver, or I'm looking to obtain some gold and some silver. Put in as much info as you possibly can, and just understand that a very small amount of Americans out there understand the value in gold and silver and what it can do for your portfolio. If just a little bit more of the American public can really wake up and understand why you need this, then the available supply is going to be bought up, and the prices are going to go up, and it won't take much for that to happen. So I wouldn't procrastinate and just assume that it's going to be there later. It will be, but it's just going to cost a lot more, and you'll have to wait for it. Right now, the prices are cheap, and you can get it quickly.
Right. And, you say if only a small percentage of the population stepped up to the plate and actually bought precious metals, it would affect a lot of things. But imagine this, right? Imagine one heavy hitter, right? Imagine a billionaire come in, and bought $1 billion. It's like, you don't understand how tight the supply is. If you threw $1 billion at the market because you wanted to unload $1 billion in precious metals, I don't think you could do it today, Andrew. It would take maybe a few weeks to fill that order. Correct me if I'm wrong, because that's all it takes. There's so many billionaires in the world. If one steps up to the plate, it's game over. Yeah. And that's the thing to understand. And then forget all that, right? We know this is a biblical year. We'll read Matthew, and he states very clearly blessings are 30. So when God intervenes, we're not going to see like a 30% increase, a 50% or 100% increase. No. When God intervenes, damages immediately, because there's many damages, are sevenfold. So take the price of silver, multiply it by 7, there's damages right there. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then forget damages. That's just step 1. After damages, what does God do for his church? He blesses them, his bride, right? For end times, he's going to bless his bride, so then you can be a blessing to those around you. Blessings are 30. So 20 times 30 is 600 silver. Blessings are 30, 60, or 100 fold, meaning that we could, don't be surprised if we see silver at some point. I'm not saying tomorrow, at some point. Just run the Matthew calculation. That's $2,000 an ounce on silver, okay? I'm just telling you, God's word does not come back void. God, he makes the impossible, because this sounds impossible, but God makes the impossible possible. Mark my words, this will be a year of impossibles becoming possible. We're going to see it this year. It's coming. This year is going to be a year like no other. Kim Clement actually stated, about the seasons. And winter says, I will make you happy. How's that for last few words right there, Andrew?
It's powerful.
Yeah,
I think it's powerful.
God's powerful, God's powerful, God will not be mocked. And everything, people have been mocking. Everyone, the world's mocked him, and so, this is a powerful moment in time that we're going to step into. And, and so if what Andrew and I have spoken about resonates with you, fantastic. Praying on it. It's always the first step of anything is prayer. Just pray on it. Look inside you. Find your answers. Find what you personally want to do, because it's a free will. Everything about life, the reason we're at is because of free will. But this is, again, I'm going to repeat that again, historic year ahead. And, we've had the privilege of Andrew being here with us to give us guidance on the steps, because he is front line on getting you precious metals if you want to be involved in precious metals. He's a fantastic source, but he knows the steps, and he's got the team to make it happen quickly for you. So, because that is the essence of it. Back to the whole start is time is short, and that's it. Time is short. Go ahead, finish up, Andrew, a few words.
We've been doing this for a long time. We have a lot of experience. By so many people out there sell gold and silver. There's so many people, and people often will say, well, why would we want to go with you versus somebody down the street? And I just say, number one, we're vouched by somebody in Bo that you know and trust. And we do care about the customers. So I've been doing this since I was a teenager, 1985. I've been doing it nonstop since then. And I I know it inside and out, frontwards and backwards, and we'll provide you with the hand-holding and the access. You will have access to me, you will have access to my team, and that's what you get that you won't be able to get elsewhere.
Excellent. Andrew, God bless you. God bless your wife and your entire team. Thank you for the time that you put in with us today. Thanks for all the amazing information, you know, that you kind of laid out there for us so the viewers can really have a deeper understanding of how to do this, how to get involved, and, you know, and also, you know, and how to reach you. So thank you. God bless you. God bless your family. And again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, and God bless.
Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange is a client-focused firm devoted to assisting our clients with precious metals. Our clients range from first-time to serious coin collectors and investors seeking to add precious metals to their investment portfolios. We are not interested in volatile investments, leveraged products, and intangible assets. With rising inflation and the devaluing of the dollar hurting middle-class families, investing in gold and silver ensures protection for your hard-earned money. Save the value of your money today by investing in gold and silver.